I didn't think after all the slings and arrows of this extraordinary race, including 2 assassination attempts and a change of nominee on the Democrat side, that the one thing we'd all be talking about in the final week would be garbage. And yet here we are. How serious is Garbagegate?
It's Garbagegate. Everything is a gate now. And it's funny when you look back that Watergate wasn't really the gate that we think it is. I don't think we're talking about garbage so much. I appreciate your introduction there. And by the way, people who don't see your Instagram, Pierce's Instagram, he's a natural puller. He's lifting some heavy weight. I'm proud of you. You're doing pretty well. I know you've been invigorated by that. And I mean it. I mean it.
Thank you.
Look, it's not about garbage. Desperate clingers, guns to their guns and Bible, deplorables, Nazis, garbage. The key difference here that we see, and I've gone through this quite a bit because the New York Times has a whole running article, at least between 2015 and 2021, as to all of Donald Trump's insults on Twitter before he was banned. You won't find Donald Trump insulting the American voter like you do with the left. They did refer, we can argue the phantom apostrophe, like you said. I appreciate you recognizing its absurdity. Donald Trump goes after those who are in power, the elites. He refers to the DNC. He refers to the establishment. You may not like him referring to the swamp. You may not like him referring to people inside the Beltway, but he's never gone after the American voters. He actually does respect them, and he's trying to...
In this video, we dive into the core tensions of the U.S. election debate between political commentator Tim Miller and conservative voice Steven Crowder. The central theme, respect or lack thereof. For the American voter, the labels that get thrown around, especially words like garbage and deplorables and other divisive terms, will explore each side, take on who's garbage, and whether such rhetoric is damaging or justified. Steven Crowder and Tim Miller go head-to-head on who truly disrespects the American people. Is it Trump or the Democrats? Let's see.
Win them over. That's what we're actually talking about. And it's the Achilles heel of the Democrat Party today. They're very elitist. That's the problem with garbage.
Was it still damaging for Donald Trump to have this guy, Tony Hinchcliffe, at Madison Square Garden? I was there, and aside from anything else, the joke fell completely flat in the room, so it didn't work even on a comedic value with him. Although I thought Jon Stewart made a good point that this guy's a roaster. It's what he does. He roasts everybody and everything. But putting that aside, I saw Megyn Kelly and Bill O'Reilly both saying, look, if you're going to get to the last week of a race, you don't want to have people at your rallies insulting the whole of Puerto Rico, given how many Puerto Ricans, for example, are in the state of Pennsylvania, a crucial state. Do you agree with that?
I don't care. And I mean that. I know we're discussing perception. Look, I think there's a huge difference, for example, between a roast comedian or an insult comedian making a joke. I think there's a big difference between that and the sitting president of the United States between biting baby stints referring to the American voters as garbage. You may not like one, but I don't think that we should be applying the same standard. Donald Trump has never called anyone garbage. Barack Obama referred to half of America as bitter clingers. Hillary Clinton, at least half of Trump voters as deplorables. And you know what? I've heard people refer to that joke as horrifying. I hate it when people feign offense when they're not really offended. Maybe some people are offended. I think a lot of people aren't that offended by the joke, at least not as much as they let on to be. But I've heard a lot of people refer to it as horrifying, that rally. I don't think a joke from an insult comic is horrifying. You know what I do think is horrifying? I don't know if you know this. Adolf Hitler, the Nazis, killed 6 million Jews. I know it's lost on a lot of people. I think that's horrifying. And I think to belittle the horrifying acts of the Nazi Party, the National Socialist Workers' Party, by referring to Donald Trump as a Nazi, which is largely the reason he was the subject of an assassination plot at least 2 times that we know of, I think that's horrifying. But that's just my opinion, and I'll disagree with people.
I was just laughing listening to all that, Piers. Donald Trump's never called anybody garbage. Donald Trump called Kamala Harris's advisors garbage just like the other week. Donald Trump said America is a trash can and the world is sending their garbage, which is migrants here. Donald Trump's called me and other people that oppose him in the media the enemy of the people. He's called people human scum. He said that Haitian migrants were eating cats and dogs. Do we need to keep doing this? Like this, we're going to pretend to be offended on behalf of Donald Trump? I mean, and Steven Crowder, by the way, his whole career, this is why he's on Rumble, not on YouTube, because he got kicked off YouTube because all he does is insult gay people, insult trans people. The only garbage I know is Steven Crowder and Donald Trump. So they're garbage. I don't think all of Donald Trump's supporters are garbage. I think that many of them are good people that have been misinformed by Donald Trump and Steven Crowder's lies.
Steven, your response?
Yeah, well, look, one thing, I don't like the way that these panels sometimes some people descend into nothing but ad hominem and interrupt each other. So I promise you, I'm going to respect your time, and you will not hear me speak a single time today, not one interruption, until you hear this bell. I just ask that you give me the floor. So not going to address the ad hominem, but I've never been banned from YouTube. As a matter of fact, this will be up on YouTube. The election live stream of the century will be on YouTube as well. Every single example that was just given was not addressed to the American people at large, and not even the Democrat voting base at large. America is for Americans. Are black people not Americans? Are Hispanic Americans not Americans?
This is Crowder at his best, making a stand for unity without dividing Americans by race or identity. He's spot on here. Americans shouldn't be sliced up by labels or categories. Crowder's stance reflects a broader appeal, avoiding the identity politics that divide rather than actually unite. While his style can be blunt, Crowder got a point about the dangers of treating voters as demographics rather than they are people. This isn't about dividing Americans into boxes. It's about embracing a unified national identity.
The qualifier that I have always made, and Donald Trump has always made, and the reason that so many Americans support him, is because there aren't those qualifiers of race that we see in identity politics. Every single example, I could go through all of them, the people around Kamala Harris, the people surrounding her, are scum and garbage. That's not going to be misinterpreted as Kamala's supporters are garbage. The voters of Donald Trump are deplorable. These people are scum. Kamala Harris is dumb, whatever he said. That's very different from the hatred, the reviling of the American voter. Your floor.
Why is it one rule for Trump? Why do you want him to clean up the way he talks, but a completely different set of rules for your own side? Why are you allowed to just go around calling people mass murderers?
I'm not. Like I said, the only people I called garbage were Donald Trump and Steven Crowder because they've acted like garbage by disparaging people their entire.
Here, Tim Miller doesn't hold back, outright calling Crowder and Trump garbage. While he criticizes their pattern or insults, it feels like he's doing exactly what he condemns, disparaging others. Is this just adding fuel to the fire? Miller's frustration is evident, but does this emotional outburst contribute to a meaningful debate, or does it just lower the bar for discourse? It seems like both sides are taking verbal swings without moving the discussion any forward.
Careers. Like, that was the whole premise of both of these two guys' careers. Donald Trump's just been a little bit more successful at it. So Joe Biden's statement, I think, was like totally nonsensical marble mouth. And I was maybe one of the most vocal people saying Joe Biden shouldn't run for president again. Joe Biden isn't running for president. Kamala Harris is running for president. And she gave a speech on the Ellipse where she talked about how MAGA voters would have and MAGA politicians would have a seat at the table in her administration. So you guys are trying to make something out of nothing, and you're trying to do this fake outrage where it's like in soccer, Piers, where you guys are flopping. You're flopping on the ground, hoping the refs call a foul on Joe Biden, when Donald Trump's whole career has been insults and lies and disparaging people, and also his actual actions have been hurtful. You know, the sexual assault that he committed on women, the fact that he banned people from coming to this country based on their religion, the separating of family. We could just go on and on about Donald Trump's behavior, the cops that got injured at the Capitol because of the riot that he started.
Miller brings in the Capitol riot to underline his stance on the Trump rhetoric leading to real-world harm. It's a heavy-hitting point that exposes the gravity of divisive language, which can fuel dangerous actions. The Capitol riot wasn't just words. It was a violent display that shook the nation, and Miller's not right to hold Trump accountable for his role in that. At some point, words do have consequences, and in politics, those consequences can escalate fast. This is the brutal cost of political recklessness, and it's something both sides should take seriously.
So Donald Trump, it's not just his words, it's his actions that have been harmful. And you guys can get mad about what the soon-to-be former president, Joe Biden, like incomprehensibly said, but he's not running against Joe Biden. And it seems like a desperate ploy to like put on a fancy costume and dress up like an Oompa Loompa.
Thank you. But again, I'm really going to avoid ad hominem, which is really tough because it seems to be coming from the other side of this panel here.
Well, I will note for the record that you have not gone ad hominem. And Tim, to be fair, all you've done is abuse Steve. All you've done is abuse Steve on a personal level. I actually would like to rise above that.
His whole career is all he's done is attack gay and trans people. And now he's like, he's getting offended, being called out for it. Just Google his history of his comments about gays, trans people, women. Like he is Mr. Ad hominem. So don't like try to be like, oh, I'm Mr. Nice Guy now. Come on, give me a break. Let's be honest.
I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on the debate and the points discussed within this video down in the comments. I always like to hear other people's opinion. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe. Really helps out the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.